word on this computer. 3,
Okay.
2, 1, go.
Hello. This is Corey Thompson from Dice Tower Now, Dice Tower Dish, Dice Tower News.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacor. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 291, and we're recording it on September 21st, 2023. Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network, and I am gearing up to leave for the World Series of Board Gaming in Las Vegas, where Tom Vassell has stolen my title of guest of honor there, but I am still one of the VIPs. I'll likely take less pictures this year of the guest of honor VIP poster that they have there, since Tom will be at the top and I'll be, well, lower on that list. Corey, sure. Good to see you. Where are you? This is like, where in the world is Corey Thompson?
I know, it's always different. I am currently in Munster, Germany. I'm at the house of my good friend Karsten Barak.
Can I call you Herman Munster? Dun-dun-dun.
That's
really
terrible.
Bad. Terrible.
That's really bad. But man, I am traveling all over the place. I spent a week in Vienna and had an absolutely fantastic time. I hung out with my friends Julian and Roman, owners of One More Time Games, who's the publisher of Challengers, the Kennerspiel winner. I got to play with the Kennerspiel Award, which was really fun. It's a large wooden pawn. Walked all over Vienna, ate the best food in the world. It was incredible.
That sounds great. Never been to Vienna. It's definitely a place I want to get to see.
And they brought me to a designer get-together playtesting event with Alexander Pfister, with Wolfgang Warsch,
wonderful,
with Stefano De Silvio, who's the designer of the newest hotness Evenfall, with Peter Prince, who's the designer of Thebes. Tons of people. I played all sorts of secret things I can't talk about.
Nice.
And loved it. And then today I spent the day with our mutual friend Uli Blenneman.
Nice.
And we just talked about you. Told terrible stories about you and how much neither one of us like you very much.
I have a feeling that none of that is true. Not especially the fact that you did not talk about me all day. I'm sure my name did come up. He's awesome though, isn't he? Isn't Uli like one of the nicest people?
I have never really spent time with Uli, and it was an amazing day. He's so nice, and we just chatted about everything. It was incredible.
Good man, very good man.
Oh. Yeah.
And just to mention, of course, Uli is the president of Spielworks.
Yes.
He worked on a number of games with me over at Stronghold Games, but he's been the president, founder, and owner of Spielworks for quite a long time.
Long time now.
And makes some of the kind of the biggest, most meaty of the games out there in the Euro market. Though he's dabbled into the light mid weight as well. But really, Spielworks is great, and I'll have a little story about Spielworks in a second once you're finished.
Oh yeah, and Spielworks puts out one of my favorite games now, which is the 2-player game Oranienburger Kanal from Uwe Rosenberg.
Bless you.
And my friend Karsten, whose game library I'm sitting in front of, was one of the developers on it.
Very cool.
So it's been an amazing trip so far. Next up, Sunday, I travel to Berlin.
Oh, that is great. And then from Berlin to Essen?
To Copenhagen.
Oh my God. Then you leave the country.
And then to
Essen. Wow. So I'll give my little spiel.
So what have you done?
All right. Yeah, and over here at the Podfather of Gaming, it's been a crazy week. I recorded 2 new shows with BGG, the Quad number 7, number 6, by the way, still not released. That'll be released in the first week in October, so about a week after you hear this.
But none of them are as good as number 5, right?
Number 5 with Corey Thompson was the best one yet. And it will be the best one ever, of course. But I also recorded the Board Game Geek Show. Now, I haven't talked much about this, but this will be coming out monthly as well. It features Lincoln Damhurst, Candace Harris, Eric Martin, and myself. So you probably know the other three from Board Game Geek people. And this is a sort of a resurrected or revival of a show they've been doing. They did many, many, many years ago, and they did it for many years, but then they kind of stopped doing it. Scott Alden was on it, Aldi. He was on the show. He doesn't want to do it anymore. So now the four of us are going to do it quad style, where you see the four of us, but we're going to talk about various issues around Board Game Geek itself, like things that are happening, like we talked about the upcoming conventions and things like that. And then each of us sort of has a specialty, like Candace is talking about historical stuff, like historical gaming that she's really into. Eric Martin is doing game news, and of course I'm doing industry news and extra commentary. So one of the focuses this week on that show is one of the focuses we're going to have during the news. We'll get to that one when it comes up, but I hope you'll check out the Board Game Geek show, which is available, of course, also on the front page of Board Game Geek or on the Board Game Geek YouTube channel.
That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And other things, of course, I just mentioned at the top of the show, the World Series of Board Gaming. I take my trip there starting on Saturday, and I'll be there through Thursday. And we're going to crown the greatest player in board gaming. And how do we know that? Because that person's getting $25,000. So you better be the best if you think I'm going to hand you a $25,000 check. Really looking forward to this. Last year was like, is this really going to happen? What do I do? I don't know what I'm going to do. Are these guys going to really pull this off? But now this year, being on the board of directors, being an investor, they're just up in the game, and it's so many interesting things. The attendance is going to be double. There's going to be nightly events. If you're not practicing for your games for the next day, there'll be like comedy events. It's an entire track of like gamers just enjoying each other and hanging out. And of course, we're in Vegas, baby, Vegas. So that's just fun in and of itself. So you'll see a lot of reporting on that, and you'll see live streaming that's going to happen on the Dice Tower YouTube channel. So the Dice Tower, Tom is going to be doing like play-by-play on some of the finals, and it's going to stream live onto the Dice Tower channel. So check that out as that's awesome. Happening. Yeah. I then start my epic 30-day trip in Europe, and I'm going to hold off on that because it's just so much going on there.
I would never spend 30 days in Europe.
It starts in Munich for the last 3 days of Oktoberfest, then goes on to Essen. But I'll stop right there, and we'll go through it as it's happening while I'm over there. And I'll be doing some stuff there, and I'll certainly be doing some streaming from the Spiel in Essen. And Corey and I will get together, and hopefully we'll do this meetup. I still haven't gotten an official time that Ignacy can do it, so I'm hoping at this moment that we can do it on Thursday. I think I said that. Then. Are you really?
I have no idea. I have no schedule.
Thursday at 11 a.m. For people who are listening and going to be in Essen. That's our proposed time. It's really on Ignacy. He supplies the booth space for us to do this. But regardless, Corey will be there. I will be there. Ignacy will be there. If you see us, stop us, tap us on the shoulder, take pictures with us. You know how much we like this. We want you to be part of our lives and our gaming lives. You mentioned Uli, and you spent time with Uli Blenneman, the president owner of Spielworks, just recently. And I want to call out the fact that he's having his 4th annual Conworks the Saturday after next on the 30th. As I'm flying out to Germany, I'm going to be live on Conworks 4. What he does is for a few hours right before the Spiel, he has this little online convention, and he has a whole bunch of guests that come on like every half hour. So it's going to be myself for a little bit. Ignacy's going to be there for a little bit. Cole and Drew Worley of Leader Games is going to be there. You can catch this on Twitch TV/Spielworks. That's his channel. It's going to start at noon Eastern time on October 30th. I will be on at noon Eastern time on September. I said September 30th, just a week, just a week or so away. September 30th, right before.
I really loved Conworks last year. I got
good.
Some really cool info I hadn't heard anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's just a neat show.
It is. It's a neat 4-hour online discussion about the spiel and other things
everything.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So September 30th, Saturday, I'll be on at 12 noon Eastern time. I'll be doing it from the airport. Nothing possibly can go wrong with that. But there'll be lots of other people from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m.
I expect the highest quality.
That we really try. In the meantime, let's go over to the event deck. All right. So we have a bunch of things to talk about, but I think one of them is going to take a long time. But let's first do this thing that we got a correction from about 3-4 episodes ago. Corey said Rock Manor Games was owned by Asmodee. It's pretty funny. I got a letter from.
Fair, there was a press release that said that.
Corey got fooled by the Rock Manor Games press release that was released on April 1st.
If you're gonna put out an April Fool's press release, make it insane. Make it unbelievable. Don't make it something I would instantly just believe. So,
well, yeah, Asmodee could buy anybody. They could buy.
True.
They might buy me. Who knows? I could be purchased.
So in 2021, Rock Manor Games did have a press release that was an April Fool's joke that Asmodee had acquired them. And at the bottom, it does say it's April Fool's. Haha.
Yeah. Yes.
So I was fooled.
No, but I got an email from a listener, fan of the show, a friend of the show, Jason Brown. He's a senior guy over at Asmodee, and he says, "By the way, we don't own them. Just to let you know, they April Fooled you guys a couple of years ago." I'm like, so okay, so we just announced that it's all Corey's fault. Remember that all the time. But here's the big thing that we're going to talk about today, and it's something we've talked about already. It's AI in artwork, right? So we've talked about this, and that it's an AI is everywhere right now, but ridiculous strides have been made everywhere. But in many ways, some of the biggest ones have been in art generation, where the AI learns from all of these pieces of art out there on the internet, and you can selectively feed in. There's ways of programming the AI on what to learn on. And then you say, generate me in the style of Frank Franzetta, a barbarian with an axe and a shield riding a black horse on a stone mound with fire in the background. Well, I just described Death Dealer, Frank Frazetta, the fantasy artist, one of his most iconic images. And it will come back and give you something. Now, having said that, it doesn't give you Death Dealer. It does not give you that piece of art. It gives something that was inspired by it. So why are we talking about this again? Stronghold Games, everybody knows my association previous with Stronghold Games. They disclosed on their current Kickstarter, which it will be ended by the time you hear this. It's called More Terraforming Mars, and the product that they're selling on that is Prelude 2, the expansion, and also the Autonoma. I think that's how you say that word, with a solo game that you can play, and all kinds of maps and things like that. But they had to disclose, because that's a new Kickstarter rule, if AI was being used in art generation, and they did, and the fans went the people who were there went crazy.
AI art is such a hot topic right now. If it's mentioned in anything, people get really upset. And I really appreciate that you reached out to Stronghold and got more information about what was done and all of the details there.
They were very transparent about it and very forthcoming. And I'll read a few things that were said in a minute. But I think that one of the things that everybody has to take a step back. This is like a political discussion in a lot of ways, where people they'll just throw down their fist on the table and say, if you don't think like me, you're wrong. You have to take a step back and think about how it is in the bigger picture, in a bigger context. So one of the things I did was I spoke with a noted artist in the industry. I'm going to leave his name out, but a noted artist in the industry. And I had been speaking with this person for a while regarding the topic of AI. And the context of the discussion was such as this. If you're an artist, if you want to be an artist, you want to be an illustrator, and you want to do stuff, and you want to self-train, or of course, many people just, they go to school and they learn. Well, what do? You look at Frank Frazetta's art if you're looking for fantasy style things, or you look at Picasso and Rembrandt. You look at all of these artists and you learn and you copy, air quotes on copy. You start using techniques that these greats have developed. The AI just does this much faster. That's the basic premise of what's going on here. In the decades ago, in like the 80s, when computer generation of art just started happening, when artists moved from using oils and watercolors and acrylics to doing things on a tablet, a lot of artists were like, this is not really art. This is not really art. But guess what? Almost every one of them have adopted computers because they can do it faster and they can produce amazing works just on a tablet with a pen. So it's an extension of what's happening. And my associate that I spoke to, just mean one more thing. The associate said, like, it's simply the entire thing with AI. It's a tool. It's not, certainly not now, giving you a piece of art that is absolutely perfect that you can immediately use and put on a box cover. It doesn't do that. You still have to be a trained artist to use that, understand lighting, shadows, perspective, all the techniques to then overpaint and do things with what the AI does put out. So I'm just trying to say there's a lot to be discussed here. There's no right and wrong answer, but there's a lot to be discussed. Don't take such a strong opinion. Think about it.
The important point is that it is a tool. And we're having the same arguments now that they were having when word processors were new, and it was a tool for writing and all of that. AI can mean so many different things in art. And certainly it would be unethical for AI to take other people's art uncredited and use their style. But with permission and with crediting, you certainly can have an AI engine learn from certain artists, or even use AI as an extension of the art you've already paid for. If an artist delivers 30 pieces to a game, you can have AI learn from those 30 and maybe generate 30 more with permission with the artist. So it's not an immediate evil in the world. AI is a tool, and right now it's so new, and we're trying to figure out where the laws should be placed and the restrictions should be placed. We're figuring out what is ethical and what is unethical, but it is a new tool, and that makes it scary.
That's exactly right. It is a new tool. It is a tool. It's a tool that can be used. We do have to have these discussions around how it can be
used. I will just remind the audience that in 1978, I wrote a fable for school. I used a word processor, which nobody had seen before. My teacher failed me because she said the computer wrote the fable for me.
See, that's
because it was new and it was scary.
It's ignorance, right? In that case, so she didn't understand what this thing was.
But yes. I think we're dealing with similar things. AI is a useful tool that will not go away. We need to figure out how to use it right.
Right. I'd like to point to and again, I did investigative reporter Stephen Bonacore. I reached out to Stronghold Games, to Travis Worthington. He's the CEO of Indie Game Studios, the parent company, to give him the opportunity to talk to this. He was very forthcoming. He's a friend of mine, but he put it up there and he told me exactly the story. He didn't hold anything back. He actually also did an interview on Polygon. That's a very big website, polygon.com. You can go there and see about this. You can type in Terraforming Mars, and it'll be the most recent article, of course, that mentions it. So check it out there. One of the things he said that's going to be almost not relevant to this, but people are going to want to hear me say the next couple of things. As I said in the interview, this is what Travis said to me, and he knew I was on the record, so I'm going to say it. As I said in that interview, I would support a compensation model of some sort. In other words, the artist getting compensated for any elements stylistically, color-wise that were being used. So as I said in the interview, I would support a compensation model of some sort. The benefits of AI are not just cost savings, but time to market. Specifically, if you look at Terraforming Mars Legacy, that should send off alarms in like everyone's head out there, the hundreds and hundreds of card art in that project would require Fricks Games years to make. Using AI, it will still take them a huge amount of time. So there's two pieces of that, of course. There's the part that Fricks Games is this small, and when I say family owned, I mean like they've got 16 kids in this family.
And
they're
all
adult
work
kids,
there.
and not all of them work there, but like 8 of them work as part of Fricks Games, from designing to managing to doing illustrations, doing graphic designs. So you can't be more of a family-owned small company than Fricks Games, and they're not rich or anything like that. Even with Terraforming Mars, it's their only hit game. So that's one thing. They are a grassroots thing, and they're using that AI to be able to do this work. Okay. But the other thing, of course, was Terraforming Mars Legacy now has been said publicly, and not just by Stephen Buonocore. So
I was going to say,
I
will not comment on this at all.
I can't get in trouble for it. I was told this on the record about Terraforming Mars Legacy. So Fricks Games, when you come and yell at me, you got to now yell at Travis, because Travis told me on the record. So it's a thing. It's happening.
And you're certainly not playing it up at all.
When it's and again, I have no clue when it's happening. I obviously did know about it, but this is the first time I'm able to say those words without too much, fright and being
without
too frightened.
Getting in trouble.
I might still get in trouble. Oh, I might still get in trouble. If Fricks Games hears this, they'll probably yell at me again. Travis won't care, but Fricks might yell at me.
You're unemployed, so you don't care.
Busiest retired guy in the world. Anything else on this, Travis? Anything else on this, Corey? Because I mean, literally, we could talk about AI artwork alone. Not only like AI. I mean, the Congress of the U.S. just had the heads of like the 8 largest AI based companies in the world, AI generating companies in the world there. Musk was there, Alex Karp of Palantir, Zuckerberg was there, all these guys, the head of Alphabet was there, everybody. And
I think it's just so much more powerful than people thought it would be. So it needs regulation, it needs oversight. But again, I think it's an incredibly powerful tool that does have a place in this industry and probably all industries. But it can be used badly and it can be used well.
100% correct. Again, we're going to hear more and more about this as time unfolds. So keep listening. We'll be talking about it. We'll talk about it frankly, and we'll give all sides of the conversation. Next thing, Corey, why don't you take this one away?
Sure thing. So the designers of Heat, which is an incredibly popular deck building racing game, you've probably all heard about it. Asger Harding Granerud and Daniel Skjold Peterson have now started a new board game company called Sidekick Games. So there's a couple things about this. They had a really lovely press release where they talked about what they want to do is they want to make generational games. And what this means is games that will be popular with every generation and will last 4 generations. And it's a bold claim, but it's a really nice claim. For Sidekick, their first game has kind of been snuck out in the news. Their first game is called Bloom Town. And it is a tile placement game that is coming, they say, sometime around Spiel, around Essen Spiel. Other news has said that the press can get a sneak peek into their new game, which I'm assuming is Bloomtown, if they meet them at Essen. So I'm not sure if this is actually going to be available or if they're just going to show it off at Essen. So it's just exciting. Another new board game company with some big plans about what's going on.
Yeah, no, I mean that claim, games that will be playable by all generations and be played for generations, obviously is grandiose. But that's the kind of thing that it's a great catchphrase and a great way of
Sure.
introducing a goal of your company. So I know Asgar.
It's
Have you,
yeah,
do you,
it's the generational game philosophy of Sidekick. So I think it's really nice.
I think it's really, really great. Asgar and Daniel are both really excellent designers. They're good people. They've had a lot of success, obviously now with Heat. I published Flamme
Yep.
Rouge by
I
Asgar, which I love,
yep.
love, love that
I
game.
should also
So
say technically the company is owned by Asgard and Daniel and Dan Halstead. So the three of them own the company and have started the company.
okay, very, very cool. So Corey, you want to play a 24-player game with me anytime soon?
Sure, I put this news article up just for you.
This is wild.
So
So go ahead, tell us about it.
So Fantasy Flight Games has posted a rules addendum for Twilight Inscription, which is the Twilight Imperium roll and write. But this is a rule set if you want to play from 9 to 24 players.
It's awesome. That is so
I
good.
thought it was pretty amazing that Twilight Inscription came with enough materials and everything to play with 8. And I thought that was crazy. Who would play a roll and write with 8 people, 8 boards, 8 pens, and all that? But now, if you have 3 copies of the game, there's rules online for how to play with a full 24 players. It's just, I can't even imagine.
Have you actually kind of read through any of the changes that they're making? Because it's not a lot
It's
of stuff. It's
pretty
only
minor.
it's only a
Yeah.
page and a half of rules. And this because there's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
artwork on it. It's basically one page of rules because if you take out all of the artwork
I,
that they're showing you.
and a lot of it is some really interesting recommendations. So there's some rules, obviously, for how many players get credit for Mechatol Rex, when who gets there first, and how the scores are laid out. How do you deal with duplicate relics, things like that. But the part of the rules that I really liked were, if possible, you should, after rolling the dice, project them on a monitor so that everybody can see them. And like, okay, it's turning
Sure,
into a full room multimedia event now.
that
But
is pretty.
there are good suggestions. Like if you roll the dice and your table's really huge and no one can see, just duplicate the dice in another copy on the other side of the table, and little
That's
suggestions of how to keep it moving. That's
right.
mostly what it is how to keep the game from taking 900 hours.
That is yeah. You
The
could
rules
go.
are pretty similar.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, literally, it's a one-page sheet. There's a lot of, big Twilight
Yeah,
description on the top and a big graphic at the bottom. So while you print it on 2 pages, it's one page of rules. So it's not going to be
exactly.
hard to do it, but wow, it's going to be a long game with
That's a
24
long
players.
day. And it's freely available on the Fantasy Flight Games
Yeah.
website. It's easy to find. It's right up there on their front page.
And all you have to do is buy 3 copies of the game and you can do it. So it's which of course is kind of a goal for publishers to encourage, hey, buy another copy, buy a third copy. There you go.
I dig it. I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's really cool. So Lucky Duck is going to do a deluxe version of Food Chain Magnet with Splatter. Really?
This is literally news that showed up maybe 2 hours ago.
Oh, you're the best.
So I threw it on there last minute. So I am reading right from the press release because it is this fresh. Lucky Duck Games partners with Splotter Spellin to release a special edition of Food Chain Magnate. Lucky Duck Games are delighted to announce that they are partnering with renowned publisher Splotter Spellin to release a special edition of Food Chain Magnate. And they have a great cover with better art, which isn't hard because, yeah, Splotter is not known for the best art in the world.
Mm-hmm.
As a background, Splotter is they are known for difficult, strategic, really thinky, complex board games. And they are most famous for a quote where they said, if you cannot cannot lose a game on the first turn, why have a first turn?
That's
And
great.
Food Chain's their most popular game. I think to date they've had 8 reprintings, which is kind of unheard of for Food Chain Magnate. But it is known for being complex, really thinky, and not pretty. And Splotter for a long time has had trouble keeping up with demand for their games. So I think this is an
Sure.
incredible pairing for Lucky Duck to be working on a prettier version. The important stuff here, the Food Chain Magnate Special Edition will come to GameFound on November 14th. And you heard it here first.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, Food Chain Magnate's one of those really complex and not very modern, right?
I think it has modern
Mechanically.
ideas, but the graphic style and the art was made to look like 1950s
Yeah,
fast food restaurants.
it really
So
was.
together it mixed to look like almost a prototypey kind of art style.
Yeah.
But
So
I think that the mechanisms are fairly modern in it.
there you go. So I mean, hopefully Lucky Duck can give this a nice
Yeah. By the
swath
way, it will
of paint.
include the expansion.
Very
The
nice.
expansion is called, of course, the catch-up mechanism.
The ketchup mechanism, of course. Wow, that's a bad pun.
I love that.
Mo-
I think it's wonderful.
Moving along, so a follow-up to the Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering set. Is that really what you
This
think this
one's
one is?
just for you. I put it in. You can read this one.
Yeah. So My Little Pony returns to Magic the Gathering, but it's to benefit Extra Life charity, which is something near and dear to my heart. Wizards of the Coast is offering Ponies the Galloping 2 Extra Life 2023, a card set for Magic the Gathering that will support the Extra Life charity organization through the Secret Lair. The crossover set will be available direct to consumers until November 6th. So it sounds like you have to jump on this pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Ponies the Galloping 2, I love that, will include 4 cards featuring My Little Pony characters, Applejack, Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie, and Rainbow Dash,
I
each with
just love
unique.
hearing you read My Little Pony.
I don't know these characters, of course. Each with new unique abilities and illustrations by Rudy Siswanto, John Thacker, and Anna Steinbauer. It will be available both as a full foil set for $49.99 and a non-foil set for $39.99. Half of each purchase will go to Extra Life charity and aid the Seattle Children's Hospital Autism Center. Now that is just beautiful.
Yeah.
And
I joke, but this is great.
Yeah.
There's a popularity here. People are going to buy this and be excited by it. The charity's fantastic.
Yeah, and when I hear things like this, I get choked up because only the biggest companies can do this. Only the biggest companies could spend a tremendous amount of money, time, resources, effort to put out something like this in their by far biggest brand, yeah. Right? Their biggest IP, Magic the Gathering, and they're doing this, and basically half of the money that they get will go to charity, which is probably all of the money that they would have gotten in profit is going to go to a children's charity.
I'll call Post Malone.
It's really, really cool. That's it for the news. Let's get over to strategy and tactics. Everybody, as everybody knows, the contest is over. We have contacted all the winners out there. 10 prizes were given away during our contest. Congratulations again to all the winners. Thank you for everybody who's given us questions, which we will be using, hopefully, for the next couple of years in the strategy and tactics
there's
segment.
A lot of them.
And there's a good number that we got. The first one that we have here is Adrian Patterson from New Zealand. He's at Pattersoa. We often play games that we haven't opened for years and find ourselves a little disappointed. They are often not as good as we remember. Game design has moved on. Components are better. Rule sets are smoother. I'm looking at you, Big City. But sometimes you pull out a game, blow off the dust, and have a blast. Step on up, Cleopatra and the Society of Architects. Yeah, that is one of my favorites of old time, and I haven't played that in forever. Have you had an experience where playing a game after a break of around a decade was a great experience? Corey, can you think of one that you...
Absolutely.
Oh, there you go. Let's hear it.
I recently played Pillars of the Earth.
And Pillars of the Earth, wow.
That's an older game, and it has mechanisms in there that I just have not seen come up in other board games. I had a fantastic time with it. It's such a good game. And of course, some of the old classics come up every once in a while. I played Scrabble again after probably a decade. And really had a good time with it.
That's great. I
You say that with such
I
a venom.
no, I mean Scrabble. If you have a great time with it, that's good. But Scrabble specifically, I don't know.
Sure.
It's a lot of frustration in Scrabble. That's why the Words with Friends was so much more popular, because it removed all those frustrations and things like that. And one of the basic principles of game design, modern game design, is remove frustrations in a game. So
Sure.
Scrabble, by the
Well,
way
what
it's
have you
designed.
played recently that because everything you play is a decade old.
Well, that's very nice of you to say such a thing. You're such a jerk. I recently played Mr. Jack, which I'm holding up right now. If
Fantastic.
you would see this if you watched the Podfather Gaming YouTube channel's version of the podcast. So Mr. Jack is a take on Jack the Ripper themed game, a very much more simple game than Letters from Whitechapel, of course, where one person is playing Jack and the other person is playing detectives, but one of those detectives is masquerading is Jack masquerading as a detective. So the detective player has to figure out which one of his people is really Jack, and Jack's
That's
trying to get
very
off the
cool.
board while during the game. It's still a lot of fun. It's a 2-player game only. So Paula and I played a couple of games of it, sort of on a whim the other night. It was like, well, let's play something that we kind of know the rules for, but we don't, but we'll learn it quickly. And I was like, hey, let's try this. So I had to relearn it, but it still holds up. It's a great little cat and mouse game. That's Mr. Jack back in the day by Hurricane Games. I don't know who's putting it out these days. Yeah, that's I definitely want to get like a Society of Architects Cleopatra back to the table, because that was so good back in the day.
It's cool, big chunky
Yeah.
pieces.
Big pieces. Valentine
So
Cretin from France, who's at Kunz. He's my third question for the contest, so we've already taken 2 of his. In France, we have kind of a place called a ludoteca, which acts as a public or nonprofit game library where you can find all sorts of toys, games, and board games. The game specialists there curate a large amount of games, organize play sessions, and more often than not, a rental system for close to nothing. Do you have those kind of places in the U.S. and Poland? Ignacy's not here to answer for Poland. What do you think about them, and what interest could there be for a board game publisher to work with those kind of structures? Well, here in the U.S. and started in Canada, we have board game cafes, right? Snakes and
sure.
Lattes started the business model of creating a kind of a coffee shop kind of environment where they had a library of games, and they sold games too, I think, ultimately. So that's the big thing here. And I actually visited one recently when I was on my cruise. And it was on in Nova Scotia. I visited, and I apologize, I can't remember the name of the place, but it was a great place to go. The food was okay. The game library was extensive, and it was a lot of fun.
There's a couple others like that. Most board game stores in the US will have a small library, and you can take a game and play it in the store. But aside from that, a lot of book libraries, a lot of public libraries do have board games that can be checked out, just like library books. Check your local library. You'd probably be surprised. They often have movies, music, books, and games. I When I was in Vienna, I saw that they had a state-funded board game rental library that was absolutely magnificent. They had very new games. It was almost free. I think it was 10 cents to get a game. And it was amazing. I would love to have places like that.
Yeah, I know public libraries here are doing it. They have a game section very often. And as you said, board game stores almost always have games you can, if they have any space in there, that you can take a game and you can play it, and they're hoping that you may have to pay for the space sometimes. That's how they'll get some revenue. Or you can just rent tables and stuff. So we don't have this exact structure, Valentine, that you have in France, but we have other places where we have, I guess you can say, curated libraries of things. Oh, and he asks, like, would publishers be interested in this? I mean, we donate. The royal we publishers do give games to some of these places. Some of these places go buy games. It depends if they're asked and if the place has enough throughput, whether they'll do it or not. But board game publishers are often on board with these kinds of ideas. Eric Langenbach from Sweden. He's at Lagnus. He asks 3 questions in one. How important are Kickstarter videos? The video that plays at the top for a project. Like, have any of you measured how it did? And is there a formula you try or tried to follow? So, not being a Kickstarter expert, in fact, none of us here are true experts because even Ignacy hasn't done a million of them. Certainly having a good video that you spend some money on is going to be an important part of your Kickstarter because it's one of the first things people do, right?
I will say that doing the news, I do generally every week, I review 6 Kickstarter projects that are going, and I've been doing this for years. And it's hard to find projects that do not have a video.
Right.
And when they do not have a video, they do noticeably much worse. So I do think it's very important. The quality of the video, I think, does correlate with how well some of these projects do. And that's just a feeling from looking at hundreds and hundreds of these projects. If the Kickstarter video is noticeably poor, then also the Kickstarter tends to not make as much money. So I would say, just from what I've seen, the video at the top is pretty important.
Yeah, I agree. How important is the description of the project in text, and what do you consider to be the most important, and what does the average backer consider to be the most important? Are the two the same? And is the text saying the same as the video usually? I mean, yes. I mean, certainly. A picture is worth 1,000 words is the expression. That's why the video, I would say, is more important because it'll just show a sexiness to the whole thing and the 3D motions and stuff like that. But in the end, you need to have the text too, so the reader understands that this is the progression of what you're going to get and how it's going to unfold. And then, of course, you're going to see all of your stretch goals and all the other stuff that's important on a given project.
Yeah. And a lot of projects will try to throw what you get, what the stretch goals are, what the cost is up front. I think the most successful projects lead up to that a little bit, that they'll have a brief description of what the game is. Usually the video will show the game in motion a little bit and will describe the theming and the feel of the game. And then right under it, the text will describe a little more detail, how it's played. Is it a tile game? Is it an abstract game? Is it a worker placement game? What's going on?
And his final question as part of this one post is, can you see how many video watches there are, how many people have clicked on the video, or how many just reads are there? He's in the camp of he never watches the video, he says, but I don't know how many friends I have out there. So as a publisher, yes, you can see the clicks, you can see the number of clicks you get on the page, you can see the number of people who click on videos and stuff like that. I don't have stats. I just don't have them, period, to share with you. I'm sure that they're out there. I'm sure that I could ask for them. But in general, I mean, you're saying that you don't care about the video, you just want to read, and that's fine. That's why it's there twice, right? So you don't watch, the other guy wants to see it. He doesn't read, but he loves that video, so that's why he'll back. So I think that's just some people learn and want to know stuff via different means.
Sure. I don't have anything really to add to that.
Right. Eric Langenbach also asks in his next question, he says, what's your favorite board game as of right now? You can name only one. Well,
I thought we just did this. I thought we did this question last week.
No, we did not do this question last week. I
Oh
mean,
my
maybe
goodness.
somebody else asked it, but he did not, because I curate these questions. I chop off the old ones. But anyway, my favorite board
Yeah.
game is always going to be War of the Ring. Nothing's ever going to beat this game. It is my favorite game. My favorite game of 2023, though, I have mentioned it, I'm pretty sure. So far, my favorite game of this year is Thunder Road Vendetta. This game never ceases to amaze. I played it twice at Dice Tower Retreat. Love Thunder Road Vendetta. Check it out. Corey, what is your favorite all-time game, favorite game of the
I'm
year?
I'm flaky as anything. I tend to really like the board games that I've just played the best. So right now, though, my favorite game is probably Oranienburger Kanal, which is the two-player Uwe Rosenberg game from Spielworks. I played it at Origins and really enjoyed it, and I've played it a bunch of times since. So
Very, very cool. Let's see if we get one more from Eric, and then we'll end. For an established, this might have to be a Ignacy question. Yeah, it talks specifically about Portal. All right, let's go here to Joseph Leone from the United States. He's at Leon EJ. In the past 10 years, I have seen the acceleration of production of designer board games. With this increase in production, my attention is drawn to various misprints, errors, and mistakes that occur in the newest published works. This has gotten to the point that I now consider waiting for a second printing before purchasing. I come from an
wow.
era in which quality control is important. What type of quality control do publishers establish, and how is this affected by the present market? Who is responsible for the misprints and errors in games? Respectfully, Joseph
Wow.
L. Joseph. Oh, cutting close.
Man.
So, listen, we try our best, but it'll never be perfect. Humans are by definition not perfect, but we do try. Who's responsible? Every person who touches it, with the ultimate responsibility, of course, being the president of the company. We go through as many steps as we can, as many eyes as we can. I don't think necessarily waiting makes sense, really. A second printing might correct rules, like errors in a rule book or something, but that just means that you would have played the game with all the errata and all the stuff that people will have posted for you, and you'll be playing
Yeah.
it for the first year. Okay, you might have missed a rule or two that wasn't written right or something like that, but Board Game Geek, what a great resource. Everybody's out there correcting everybody, and it tells you exactly what the changes should be that were made, and the designers chiming in and the publishers chiming in. So do you want a perfect rule book that you got to wait a year plus for, or do you want to be able to play the game immediately? And, well, you'll go
And
scrape stuff on the Geek.
I
I say
kind
the
of
latter.
have to disagree a little bit. I get a lot of games and I play a lot of games, and usually I'm getting very new first edition games, and I very rarely find errors. Um, I can't remember the last time I found a significant error in a game. Sometimes the rule books are not the most clear things in the world, but there's a lot of other resources, like you said, for how to play games. Um, I just haven't seen that many problems, certainly to the level where I'd want to wait for another reprint.
I mean, I know a lot of people do say what Joseph is saying, but yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I want the game. I mean, if I have played it correctly and like the game, I want this, and I'm not gonna wait a year just so that my rule book or the card is perfect. I'll get the errata. I'll make sure I know. Maybe it's like Betrayal House on the Hill, which I love that game. I don't care how broken the original first and second edition was. I got the errata. When I get the underground stream that appears on the upper floor, I use the errata to
Oh,
say
it's a lake
underground lake. It appears on the top
in the
floor of the
attic.
thing, in the attic, sort of, and you take it and you just put it in the basement. That's the errata. You put it in the basement. And they made a very funny thing with the errata. They said something like, you see, well, the lake kind of started in the thing. Yeah, we made a mistake. the back of the thing should have said,
I really like that they called back to that mistake in the Betrayal at House on the Hill Legacy game.
don't tell me. I haven't started playing that yet.
That's all I'm gonna say. That's
All
all I'm
right.
gonna say.
That's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. All right, everybody. let's get over to playtesting. All right. I had to ask another question last week because Corey is very lazy, but I did see that Corey put all kinds of questions here for the future, which is going to be great.
Use as many or as few as you like.
I'm going to use them as we need. But my question from last week that we talked about, you and I, but now we put it out to everybody else. And Corey, you can start reviewing the answers that we got. And we got a lot of answers, by the way. We got 2 pages of answers. What percentage of your game collection is sitting on your shelf of shame, meaning you have never played the game, either your copy or anybody else's copy? So we go ahead.
Do you want the real answer?
Did you like actually?
We had 25 answers of how many shelf of shame with an average answer of 8.7%, a median of 5. The range was from 0 to 50%, and the standard deviation was 11.5.
Are you serious? Did you you had a lot of time in your hands to like scrape the 28
I was just
answers.
waiting for you to say, oh, you need to go look at it now.
Can you? Oh God, I can't believe. Why did I ever invite you onto the show?
I don't know.
Did you really? I mean, did you really scrape the information from 28 answers?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Can you repeat that so that I'm like not as astonished? What's the
average was 8.8%.
Okay, 8.8% of people's collections are
right.
Unplayed.
With a standard deviation of 11.5. So it's a bit of a broad range.
Okay, so it's 11.5 games, not percent.
Percent. This is all percent.
I thought you said it was 8% with a standard deviation of 11%.
Of 11.5. Yeah. The range was from 0 to 50%.
Wow. Okay. So I guess you can have this like kind of skewed. Okay, I understand. Statistics are hard. They're really weird. But I'm going to talk about some specific answers we got. This one just came in an hour ago, which is
Very
nice,
cool.
from Josh Wasser. He says, pre-pandemic, not the game, I was up to around 10% of my games, which are around 30 in total. Since 2020, I have gone on a quest to play all of my unplayed games at least once, and now I'm down to 2%. Some of these games have waited 2 to 4 years, like Star Wars Rebellion, still sitting on my shelf of shame, and were worth the wait. My current shelf of opportunity list, 3 games: Shogunate, Among Thieves, and Guttat Alma. And Shogunate and Among Thieves are both from Indie Boards and Cards, and they're sitting over there. Also on my shelf of shame. I haven't played either of those games. So that's a great answer. Did you pick anyone in particular out? I'll just keep grabbing a few if you haven't seen any.
Sorry, had a tickle in my throat.
Jim Brown. Jim Brown says, we're probably around 20% unplayed currently, but I don't feel shame. I'm just a few years away from what I hope will be a long, healthy, and happy, if not Bonacorian, retirement. I love that. Thank you, Jim. And those games will be there for us.
Retirement.
Bonacorian retirement. Jim, I'm going to use that.
Peter Haraldson, said, currently I only have 1 unplayed game out of about 120, which is fantastic. I have a more or less 1 in, 1 out policy of my collection. So there's limitations, which makes me play the games I buy pretty quickly to determine if I want to keep them or not. So I do not have that sort of self-control, not even close.
Yeah. I say that I have a 1 in, 1 out policy on games, but if you look at this table, I have not been able to get rid of any of these games that don't fit behind me. Oh, I'm recording from my game room right now because I had all those other things to record from, and I need to get hardwired connections when I'm on BGG stuff. They're much more professional than we are.
Absolutely.
I want to read one more, and here's your 0%er, Alexander Sakhanov. Alexander, he's the Pupkin. I know Alexander from talking to him. His number is exactly 0%. He's a picky eater, so I mostly buy games that I've already played elsewhere, but I'm enjoying the luxury of an amazing, friendly local game store where I can demo those games. That's really cool, Alexander. I love the fact that if you buy it, you've either played it or you're going to play it immediately. So very cool. Oh, and one more. I'm going to take Elena, Alaena. who is very active and communicates on the YouTube channel. Thank you. And she visited Hawaii recently, so we had a conversation there on the YouTube channel. And she says, I have 17% and probably going up. So that's really good. So Corey, this week is your
Yes,
question.
sir.
So what question did you ask this week?
So, migrating around Europe, I asked, have you ever ordered a game from a foreign country in a language you do not speak? Because I will tell you, I've done that a lot.
I know you've done this a lot. You ordered the game from the foreign country and it's actually printed, right? Not in English, right? You've done this many times.
Correct. I look up the rules on BGG. I try to struggle through the rules myself and maybe even print up little cheat cards for text within the game.
There's a second part to the question. There's an or part that I kind of added because I wanted this to be part of the whole thing. Because you said, have you ever ordered a game from a foreign country in a language you do not speak? Or
sure.
Finish the rest of it if you don't mind.
You hate it when I don't read every word.
Well, no. It's because I want to make sure it's because
I know. I bet that more clear.
I bet the percentage of people in that first part is going to be very, very small. I mean, Americans won't probably do that. People.
That's part of the bias with this question is as Americans, we rarely do it. But certainly in a lot of countries, there's no other choice but to buy the game in English for a lot of titles.
Right.
So, full question. Have you ever ordered a game from a foreign country in a language you do not speak? Or have you ever purchased a game that was only in a foreign language? So you had to find rules in, say, English if they were available someplace else.
Right. For instance, in English. Because most of our audience buys English games. That's sort of a fact as well. So my answer to that question is I've never ordered a game from a foreign country that was in a foreign language to me. I have certainly purchased games that were only in a foreign language and then sourced English rules. The most famous one in my collection is a small game called Die Sieben Siegel, otherwise known as Kill Steven Seagal, which has been published in English after the point in various Schluffoff.
And it has another title. Yeah.
Schluffoff, I think, is one of the bigger ones, and that's the English title. But it was only in German. It only came out in German for the longest time, so I found a copy in German. But the rules were written in English for people, and it is my single favorite trick-taking card game to this day. So I really, really love and really had to have. I
believe I have 6 card games in my bag that I bought in Austria that I can't get otherwhere. I bought Heul doch Mau Mau, which I love. It's a fantastic little game. I bought the 4th Oh So Clever game from Wolfgang Warsch, Clever Forever, because I can't wait for the English version.
Very cool.
There's a whole pile of.
I mean, you've bought so many games overseas. I think a lot of the ones though that you have bought, like from Japan, had both English and Japanese in them, right? So that was I guess
all of them. Like some of my favorites: Sheep and Sheep, Goat and Goat, Capybara and Capybara.
Yeah,
only English rules or only Japanese rules. I had to download.
Right. I have credited with you, and I think other people have credited with you with the ultimate popularity of Scout well before it was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres. It didn't win. It was nominated. It was one of the 3 nominated. Cascadia won, because you literally went out. I'm gonna go out on a limb. You bought about 70 copies from Japan. Maybe not that many. More. You bought and in multiple purchases. You bought and you were handing them out to people. It's just like candy. Like, hey,
I bring them to conventions, and the biggest one was a gathering of friends. I think I brought about 20 to the gathering, I brought a whole bunch to, and I put 5 on the prize table at gathering.
Very, very nice of you. So that's the question of the week. We'd love to hear what you think about this. So I have already put it into the guild on Board Game Geek. So please go there and answer our question to you for play testing. And let's go to the final scoring. Thank you so much for listening. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts, or you can watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. Do you want to be part of this podcast? You can just ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment by posting them in the correct thread in our Guild on Board Game Geek, and also answer our question to you from our playtesting segment, also by going to our Guild on Board Game Geek and looking for the thread with this episode's question. Check out our websites, which are portalgamesus.com, podfathergaming.com, and dicetowerdish.com. We're all over social media. Interact with us, please. On Facebook, please like our pages /BoardGamesInsider, /PortalGamesUS, and /PodfatherGaming. You can speak directly to Ignacy, Corey, Steven on Twitter or X and Instagram at Portal Games US, at Podfather Gaming, at Dice Tower Dish, at Dice Tower Now. And the very active YouTube channels are Portal Games Movies, Portal Games, not that one, the Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV. On TikTok, Ignacy is Portal Games US. We'd love to see you in person. We hope to see you in Essen. That's the next one. And then BGG Con, and then PAX U, at least for me.
Same here. I'll be at both.
Oh, that is awesome. And at the moment, just follow what we say. We're going to hope to get a BGI, a Board Games Insider meetup at the Portal Games booth. Tentatively, it's Thursday at 11 a.m., but I don't know that it's going to be that day. I got to pin down Ignacy. He's busy. He's got meetings, and he's going to be off campus for part of the spiel. So stay tuned. Listen to us Twitter, listen to us all over the place. We'll try to let you guys know where to meet us there. And of course, if you want to bring me a cool beer from your hometown, I will accept it. Board Games Insider was professionally edited by Joshua Bowman from Tabletop Submarine Podcast. If you want your podcast edited by Joshua, reach out to him to discuss at tabletopsubmarine@gmail.com. And that great voice you hear doing the intro, outro, in between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. Is there anything you would like to add? Post all of that, Corey.
I like marzipan.
I will be doing various recordings from various things that I'll be doing over the next 37 days of this crazy amount of travel. So watch for my reporting at the World Series of Board Gaming first, then from Munich at Oktoberfest, then from Essen at the Spiel, then from Paris, London, Stonehenge, Southampton, UK, getting on a cruise going to Portugal, Spain, Canary Island 1, that's Tenerife, Canary Island 2, that's Lanzarote, then Bermuda, and then back to the lovely New Jersey. I just mentioned 13 places, I think. I ran out of fingers. It's going to be a crazy trip. So this is a Bonacorian retirement is what I'm doing right now. Thank you.
Brobdingnagian, really.
Brobdingnagian. How many people know that word? That's a great word. It's the opposite of Lilliputian.
It is.
Lilliputian, Brobdingnagian.
And it's to the left of Hurufurigan.
I don't know what that means, but we'll go with that one.
They're the horse people in Gulliver's Travels that no one talks about.
That no one talks about it. Barely people talk about the Brobdingnagians either, but everyone knows the Lilliputians for some reason. Who knows why? Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you later, everyone.